may be the strangest twist of this very strange election. Senator McCain said that I would somehow continue the Bush economic policies and that he, John McCain, would change them. He denounced the president for letting things get completely out of hand. That's what he said. John McCain, that's right, John McCain has been really angry about George Bush's economic policies, except during the primary, when he said we've made great economic progress under George Bush, or just last month when he said that the fundamentals of our economy are strong under George Bush, or the fact that he adopted all of George Bush's policies for his own campaign. In fact, John McCain is so opposed to George Bush's policies that he voted with him 90% of the time for the past 8 years. That's right, he really decided to stick it to George Bush 10% of the time. Let me tell you, John McCain attacking George Bush for his out-of-hand economic policies is like Dick Cheney attacking George Bush for his go-it-alone foreign policy. It's like Tonto attacking the Lone Ranger. Now, fortunately, President Bush doesn't seem to be at all offended, because yesterday he cast his vote early, like all of you should be casting your votes early. And amazingly enough, George Bush cast his vote for Senator McCain. Wait. That's no surprise, because when it comes to the policies that matter to middle-class families, there's not an inch of daylight between George Bush and John McCain. Not an inch. Like George Bush, John McCain wants to keep giving tax breaks to oil companies and CEOs and companies that ship our jobs overseas. It's the same failed Wall Street first, Main Street last economic policy that we are going to change when I'm president of the United States of America. Like George Bush, John McCain wants to tax your health care benefits from your employer for the first time in history and let insurance companies keep discriminating against people who need health care the most. It's the same failed insurance company first, your family last health care policy that we are going to change when I'm president of the United States of America. Like George Bush, John McCain wants to partially privatize your Social Security. Leave it to the whims of the stock market. Like George Bush, John McCain ignored this housing crisis until it was too late and then proposed a $300 billion bailout for Wall Street banks that does hardly anything to help people stay in their homes. Like George Bush, he wants less government regulation of business. He said it again just yesterday. The 21st time he has called for less regulation just this year. Now, none of us want to see unnecessary burdens on business, but after what we've seen on Wall Street, isn't it obvious about now that we need some common sense rules of the road to protect consumers and to protect our economy? I don't know about you, but I think we've had enough of Bush-McCain economics. I can take 10 more days of John McCain's attacks, but what the American people can't take is 4 more years of Bush-McCain economics. We're not going to let George Bush pass the torch to John McCain, and we're not going to let John McCain try to hide from his 26-year record of supporting these same policies. And that's why I'm running for president of the United States of America, because we're going to change those policies. Now, Nevada, I know these are difficult times, and I know folks are worried. But I am convinced we can steer ourselves out of this crisis because I believe in you. I believe in the American people. And I believe in the United States of America. We are a nation that has faced down war and depression, great challenges and great threats. And in each and every moment, we've risen to meet those challenges, not as Democrats, not as Republicans, but as Americans, with resolve and with confidence. That's why we say, yes, we can. Si se puede. That's what we're all about in this campaign. Si se puede. Yes, we can. We entered into this campaign with the fundamental belief that here in America, our destiny is not written for us. It's written by us. We decide the future. That's who we are. And that's the country we need to be right now. But it's going to take a new direction. It will take new leadership in Washington. It is time to turn the page on 8 years of economic policies that put Wall Street before Main Street but end up hurting both. We need policies that grow our economy from the bottom. Everywhere has the chance to get ahead. Not just the person who owns the factory, but the men and women who work on the factory floor. Not just the CEO, but the secretary and the janitor. Not just the folks who own the casinos, but the folks who are serving in the casinos. Because if we've learned anything from this economic crisis, it's that we're all connected. We're all in this together. We rise or fall as one nation, as one people. Now, that financial rescue plan that was passed by Congress, that was a necessary first step. We had to ease the credit crisis, make sure banks could still do business, because that could have made the entire economy much, much worse. But if we're going to rebuild this economy from the bottom up, we need an immediate rescue plan for the middle class, for you. And that's what I'll do as President of the United States. Number one, I proposed a new American jobs tax credit. For each new employee that a company hires here in the United States, they will get a tax break. We'll stop giving tax breaks to companies that ship jobs overseas. Give them to companies that create good jobs right here in Nevada. I'll help small businesses get back on their feet by eliminating capital gains taxes, giving them emergency loans to keep their doors open and hire new workers. And I'll create a jobs and growth fund to help state and local governments save 1 million jobs and pay for health care and education without having to raise your property taxes. And we're going to act quickly to help people stay in their homes. That is so critical here in Nevada, where foreclosure rates are 5 times the national average. We need to help responsible homeowners work it out with their banks, refinance their mortgage on affordable terms, and put in place a 3-month moratorium on foreclosures to give folks the breathing room they need to get back on their feet. We won't let banks and we won't let lenders off the hook when it was their greed and irresponsibility that got us into this mess. We shouldn't just be bailing out Wall Street. We should be restoring opportunity on Main Street. Now, these are the steps that we have to take right now to start getting our economy back on track. But we also need a whole new set of priorities to grow our economy and create jobs over the long term. And it starts with tax relief. There's been a lot of talk about taxes in this campaign, and the truth is, my opponent and I are both proposing tax cuts. The difference is, he wants to give a $700,000 tax cut to the average Fortune 500 CEO. I want to put a middle-class tax cut in the pockets of 95% of workers and their families. My opponent doesn't want you to know this, but under my plan, tax rates will actually be less than they were under Ronald Reagan. Now, it's true, I want to roll back the Bush tax cuts on the very wealthiest Americans and have their rates go back to what they paid under Bill Clinton. Now, I'm just interested. I just want to see a show of hands. How many people make less than $250,000 a year? You do? You? Yeah. Yeah. It looks like the most of you. I want you to be clear. John McCain calls it socialism when we roll back Bush tax cuts on the wealthiest Americans so we can give a tax break to 95% of you. I've got a different opinion. Just a few years ago, in fact, John McCain said those Bush tax cuts were irresponsible. He said he couldn't in good conscience support a tax cut where the benefits went to the wealthy at the expense of the middle class. Well, he was right then and I'm right now. So let me be crystal clear. If you make less than $250,000 a year, which includes, by the way, 98% of small business owners and probably 99% of plumbers, then you won't see your taxes increase one single dime. Not your payroll tax, not your income tax, not your capital tax, no tax. That's my commitment to you. For the last 8 years, we've tried it John McCain's way. We've tried it George Bush's way. We've given more and more to those with the most and hoped that prosperity would trickle down on everybody else. And guess what? It didn't work. So it's time to try something new. It's time to give middle-class folks a break. It's time to invest in the middle class again. And that's what I'm going to do as President of the United States of America. Now, let me tell you what else we're going to do. As president, I'm going to invest $15 billion a year in renewable sources of energy. We're going to create 5 million new green jobs over the next decade, jobs that pay well and can be outsourced, jobs building solar panels right here in Nevada, jobs creating wind turbines right here in Nevada, jobs creating the fuel-efficient cars of the future, not in South Korea, not in Japan, but right here in the US of A. Jobs that'll help us end our dependence on oil from the Middle East and save our planet in the bargain. And I'll also put 2 million more Americans to work, rebuilding our roads and our bridges and our schools, laying broadband lines into rural communities so businesses can locate there. It is time we built an American infrastructure for the 21st century. And if people ask you how we're going to pay for this, you tell them, if we can spend $10 billion a month in Iraq when they've got a surplus, we can spend some of that money rebuilding America. As president, I will finally fix the problems in our healthcare system that we've been talking about for too long. Now, this issue is personal for me. My mother died of cancer at the age of 53. I'll never forget how she spent the final months of her life lying in a hospital bed, fighting with her insurance company because they claimed that her cancer was a pre-existing condition. Maybe they wouldn't have to pay for her treatment. I know what it's like to see a loved one suffer, not just because they're sick, but because of a broken healthcare system. It is wrong. And when I am president, we are going to make sure insurance companies can never do that again. They will not be able to discriminate against those who are sick and need care the most. Now, if you've already got health insurance and you're happy with it, you don't have to change a thing. You can keep your plan, keep your doctor. The only thing we're going to do is work with your employer to lower your premiums. If you don't have health insurance, you're going to be able to buy the same kind of health insurance that members of Congress, including John McCain, give themselves. We'll invest in prevention, and we'll invest in information technologies to drive down costs for everybody, families, businesses, the entire economy. That's the change that we need. And you know, while we're at it, we are also going to make sure that our education system works for every single child in America. They need the skills and knowledge to compete in the 21st century economy. I will not allow countries to out-teach us today so they can out-compete us tomorrow. It is time to provide every American child with a world-class education. And that means investing in early childhood education. It means recruiting an army of new teachers, paying them higher salaries, giving them more support, increasing standards and accountability. And it means making a deal with every young person here who has the will and the drive to go to college. You know, when John McCain's When John McCain's economic advisor was asked about college affordability, how come you don't have a plan? How come Senator McCain doesn't have a plan? They said, well, we can't give money to every interest group. Interest group. I don't think the young people of America are an interest group. I think they're our future. And that's why we're going to make a deal with the young people of America. If you are willing to put in some time in community service or serve your country, in the military, in the Peace Corps, work in a homeless shelter, work in a veteran's home, wherever you're willing to serve, if you are willing to do that, then we will make sure that you can afford to go to college, no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what this election has to be about. You investing in America, America investing in you. And together, we'll move this country forward. Now, make no mistake, this is not going to come easy, and it's not going to come quick. George Bush has dug a deep hole for us. It's going to take some time for us to dig ourselves out. Things may get a little worse before they get better. We're all going to have to tighten our belts. We're all going to need to sacrifice a little bit. We're all going to need to pull our own weight. I can invest more money in education, but I can't be the parent who turns off that TV set and makes sure your child does their homework. That's your responsibility. You know, the federal government can put more money into renewable energy, but all of us have a responsibility to turn off the lights when we leave the room and check the tire pressure so that we're getting good mileage, little things that add up so that we can become more energy efficient. You know, at this defining moment in our history, we don't have the luxury of relying on the same political games, the same political tactics that divide us and make us afraid of each other. That's the old politics. We need a new politics. With the challenges and crises we face right now, we can't divide ourselves. We are in this together, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, rich, poor, all of us. You know, despite what my opponents say, there are no real and fake parts of this country. We're not separated by the pro-America and anti-America parts of this nation. We all love this country, no matter where we live or where we came from. There are patriots who supported this war in Iraq and patriots who opposed it. There are patriots who believed in democratic policies and those who believe in Republican policies. There are patriots who come from all parts of this state and all across America who have served on our armed forces, who have done what's needed to be done on the battlefields. And some of them may be Democrats. I just heard something. Somebody all right? We okay? We need a medic back here. I think somebody may have just fainted. I just heard something fall. Somebody fall. They'll be all right. Let's just make sure we got a medic up there. Where was I? No. The men and women from Nevada and all across America who serve on our battlefield, some of them may be Democrats, some may be Republicans, some may be independents, but they all fought together. They all bled together. Some died together under the same proud flag. They have not served a red America or a blue America. They have served the United States of America, and we better not forget that. You know, we are always at our best. We're at our best when we've had leadership that called us to look past our differences, to come together as one nation and as one people. Leadership that rallied the country to a higher purpose, to a common purpose. I'm running for president because that's the country we need to be right now. This country and the dream it represents are being tested in ways we haven't seen in nearly a century. Future generations will judge us by how we responded to this test. Are they going to say this was the moment when we lost our nerve, when we lost our courage, when we lost our way, when we allowed the same divisions and fears to plunge us into a deeper recession? Or are they going to say this was another one of those moments when America stood up, when America overcame, when we battled back from adversity, when we recognized the common stake in each other? Nevada, this is one of those moments. I know many of you are cynical and fed up with politics. I understand that you're disappointed, even angry with some of your leaders. You have every right to be, but despite this, I ask of you what's been asked to the American people throughout our history. I ask you to believe. Believe in yourselves, believe in each other, believe in the future we can build together. Together we can't fail. Not now, not when we have a crisis to solve and an economy to save, not when there's so many Americans without jobs and without homes, not when there are families who can't afford to see a doctor or send their child to college or pay their bills at the end of the month, not when there's a generation that is counting on us to give them the same opportunities that somebody gave us. Because ultimately, that's what America's about, us fighting for the next generation. You know, somewhere in this audience, there are people whose parents and grandparents, they never went to college, but they said, you know what, if we work hard, maybe our child or our grandchild can go to college. Their parents or grandparents who weren't even born in this country, but they said, you know, if we travel to America, we think that we can create freedom and opportunity for our children. There are people in this audience whose parents or grandparents, they could not even vote. But they said, you know what, if we're willing to fight and march and organize, then maybe my child someday, they'll be able to vote. Or maybe they'll be able to run for the United States Senate. Or maybe they'll be able to run for the presidency of the United States of America. Now it falls to us. Together we cannot afford to fail, but I need you to make it happen. I need you to early vote. I need you to organize. If you want the next 4 years looking like the last 8, then I'm not your candidate. But if you want real change, if you want an economy that rewards work, that rewards Main Street, if you want tax relief for the middle class and millions of new jobs, if you want health care that you can afford and an education that helps your kids compete, then I ask you to knock on some doors. I ask you to make some phone calls. I ask you to talk to your neighbors. I ask you to go early vote. I ask you to mobilize and organize and march in Nevada. If you can vote for me, then I promise you we will win Nevada. And we will not just win Nevada, we will win this general election. And you and I together will change the country and we'll change the world. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.